Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of some Building Big with Jerm. How's everybody doing today? In the last episode, we came out here and built up basically everything you see on screen right now. Built up these massive cliffs, this forest, this entire hill of wheat. And I absolutely love how this area has come together. I am just so happy with this. As you can see, there's a lot of stuff left to do here. So today's episode, what I think I want to do, I want to start trying to finish up this area. I have quite a few details I want to add in this area to just spice up this whole place, making it feel even more alive and immersive than it does already. And then after that, I think we're gonna call it. I think we're gonna call it for this area. I think we'll move out to the city and start doing some stuff out there. But before we can get to that, there's a few things I need to do first. So there's a few details I want to add out here before we can move out to the city. I want to add some walls lining some of these roads, just like we did down there along the wheat field. Just a little stone brick, mossy stone brick and mossy cobblestone wall going the whole way up the road here. So I want to get some of that in here. I want to get some little like ruins. I've got a really cool idea for like some grave type ruins. Since this whole place is very Elden Ring inspired, I think scattering around some little graveyards could be a really cool vibe. So you know what? Let's not waste any time. Let's just jump straight into that right now. All right, there we go. We got some details added. We got the road or the wall built up over in this area leading up this way. It looks a little bit weird right now because we don't have the hill actually built up that's going to be behind it. That's something we'll get to later on down the road. I don't know exactly what I want to do like further past this part yet. So yeah, that's something that'll be a little bit of a later project. But we also got some of this stuff scattered around. They're based on a little thing that are scattered around the world of Elden Ring. And I believe there's supposed to be like gravestones in Elden Ring. So I kind of thought that could be a cool way to tie that in here. I'm always just looking for random stuff to scatter all across the world, just to make the area feel more alive and more lived in. And I feel like this is a really good way of pulling that off. I don't know if exactly like in the lore of our world they are necessarily gravestones. Maybe, I mean, since we got the candles all scattered around, maybe they're just monuments to maybe like some fallen warriors or something. I'm not sure. If you have any suggestions for that, let me know in the comments down below. What in the lore, what should these represent? I think I do like I mean, obviously it should be some sort of monument, but I don't know. I just don't know exactly what it should be yet. Same thing with this one down here. We got them all scattered around here, a little bit more spread out than what we have up there. And I think this area looks, or this one looks a little bit better. Just because, like I said, it's a little more spread out and a little bit more variation. But either way, I think they're really, really cool additions. I really like them. Oh, and another thing I did is I went ahead and I built up this bridge. Ignore all the shulker boxes. But we got this bridge in here now. It's pretty cramped underneath here. It's a little bit of a weird one. I had to do the road and the creek were going at totally different angles. So it was a little bit hard to make these work together because the angle of the river is coming through like here. And the road is coming through this way, obviously. So I had to get a little bit creative with it. I kind of just made a big wall and then carved out a little tunnel going through it, which I think works pretty well. And of course, I absolutely love the new tough blocks. So we made use of the tough bricks, the regular tough, and then a mixture of mossy cobble and mossy stone brick. And we also added some lanterns on either end, and I decided to go for the soul lanterns because I felt like it kind of fit the like magical vibe of this area. But okay, so now what I want to do, I think I want to start working out these houses over here. And I've got a style worked out for these that I think is going to be really cool. It's inspired by some little villages I've found that are in the Swiss mountains, I think, like in the Alps. So it's going to be a very like cobbly, very messy style. We're going to be using a lot of different blocks in this. So here are just some of the blocks that we're going to be using here. We're going to be using a few more as well, but These are just the ones that I have ready to go right now. So we're going to be using deep slate leading into tough, mixing in some dead brain coral, some dead tube coral, I believe some regular cobblestone, some stone, and then we're also going to have a mixture of mossy cobblestone and mossy stone brick. And then we're even going to have a little bit of dripstone and some packed mud and then some light gray terracotta. So it's not a very big house. It's just going to fill up this very small space right here, but we're going to be making use of all these blocks and more. Actually, we're going to be using blackstone too for the roof. Blackstone, deep slate, some different deep slate ores. It's going to be a pretty crazy palette, but I think it's going to be really, really cool once it's done. And there we go. I love how these houses have turned out. Look at this. This view here is just so nice. I'm in love with this. So yeah, we got the two houses in here, and I think they're looking fantastic. Like I mentioned earlier, very, very messy style, but I think it does look really cool. The reference that I used is from like the Swiss mountains. I think I mentioned that earlier, but they got like these very cobbly, messy, very colorful looking roofs, like lots of different oranges and reds. And I think this palette pulls it off really well. With the deep slate copper ore, the deep slate iron ore, I think it looks really, really nice. Yeah, I absolutely love this. And then we got the real messy texturing in the chimney, of course, with the packed mud, the mud bricks, terracotta in the bricks. And then in the actual build itself, we got just so many blocks. Deep slate, tough, moss brick, or moss cobble, moss bricks as well. Regular cobblestone, stone, terracotta, and dripstone. And honestly, there's probably even more blocks that I've forgotten about and missed. I would love to do more houses of this style in the future. I think once we eventually come back to this area, we could really just scatter these houses all over the area. Even have a lot like in partial ruins, partially run down. I think it could be really, really cool. This house up here, this is a little bit of a newer one. I planned this one almost a year ago. And then this one I planned out fairly recently, and I think it turned out a little bit better in some cases. This wall is feeling a little bit flat, but I think I did the texturing and the shaping a lot better and some of the detailing. I think it looks really, really cool. I'm really liking this. Of course, building some foliage up around it using I've been using these mangrove roots a lot to kind of represent branches or like a really thick bush. And I think that pulls off that effect really, really well. And of course, nothing inside currently. Okay, you can't even open that without opening the fence gate. Yeah, nothing inside currently. It's kind of a mess in here right now. This just leads you straight down into the underside of the mountain. So eventually we'll probably get some interior stuff in here, but it's not super important. It's not a super important interior, so I'm not too worried about it right now. For now, this is all just decorative. I think at one point in the future, I think it could be really cool. Actually, Pride suggested this to me. I think it could be really cool. I think it could be really cool to put some villagers in here, and maybe even specifically the curse villagers. I think it would kind of fit the vibe in this area, and it could be really, really cool if we get some some villagers that trade the curse books, like the Curse of Binding and Curse of whatever the other one is. I mean, I would never really use them, but just having them in this area, I think it'd be a really cool feeling. But yeah, I think that's it for this area. There's a couple minor things I want to add. We still need to cover this hill with grass, which is something I'm going to be working on off camera. Because that's not really, I mean, it's not something that interesting to put into a time lapse, and it's not really something interesting to show on camera. But I would like to come up here, and I want to start putting in some candles. And we need a lot of black ones. I'm going to have to go get some more black dye, but we can get a little bit of an idea of what I want to do here. So I want to build out here, and I want to put some candles floating in the sky over in this area. And this, I think, is going to be a good way of representing birds, believe it or not. I think these could look really, really good as birds. Now, it's going to be really, really hard to place them all because you have to have blocks underneath them to even place them. So we kind of got to go back and forth a little bit. Actually, that's too many probably there. But let's go ahead and hop down and take a look at this. We're going to do it on a massive scale. But I want to just do this right here just to get the idea. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can totally see that. So that we're going to do it on a massive scale, like I said, to make it look like there's a bunch of birds just flying off the roof there. I think it's going to be a really, really cool look. And yeah, let me just go ahead and get to work on that. And we'll be back once we got a full section done. All right, there we go. The birds are all in, and I think they look so good. So I decided to do 2 of them. I think this side turned out a little bit better than this side, just because it looks a little bit more natural. Like, I don't know, it's not just like a perfect line going all the way up. They're kind of taking off and then like flowing down into each other a little bit, then flowing out that way. I tried to make it look like they were taking off from this tree up here, which I also went ahead and built because I realized the spot that I put them, it didn't look like they were coming from anything. So I put another orange tree right about there, and I think that's looking really, really nice. But with that, I think that's going to do it for this area, at least for now. I'm sure at some point in the future, maybe even next episode, who knows? I'm sure at some point we'll be back here doing another big expansion to this kingdom. But I think that's where we're going to wrap it up for now, and I think we're going to head out to the city after this. All right, we are now out here at the city of Vermilion. I think that's the name we're going for this city, or this kingdom. Vermilion. I think it's a really cool, I think it's gonna be a really cool fitting name, especially once we get in some other stuff in this area. But yeah, this is where we're gonna be working at for the foreseeable future. For the main, I think the main project is gonna be this. So before we actually get into anything, let's actually do a little bit of a recap of everything we've done here since the last episode we worked out here. So of course, starting off, we came out here probably almost a year ago at this point. Sorry, not a year ago, 2 years ago probably. We came out here and built up this little building here, which is housing our mud farm. And hang on a second, I gotta see if this guy has any drip leaf. He does not. Okay. So this is our mud farm. This little thing is a little weird. I need to fix this up. But yeah, our mud farm is back here. You place dirt. You place your dirt right here, hold right click, and you hit this lever, and it'll automatically turn it into mud, push it down, and it'll get pushed down into this TNT chamber and farm up all the mud down here. And I believe it gets outputted, yeah, right here, right in this barrel right here. Okay. And then upstairs, we don't really have much of anything yet. We do have some villagers because this was built on the location of a village a very long time ago that I've torn down at this point. Yeah, we got villagers in there, so that'll be actually really handy. We have some pigs up here. Because this is supposed to be, the mud farm is supposed to be powered by the pigs, which is a little goofy, but I think it's kind of funny. So that's the first thing we did. Then we came over here and built up this bridge. And I don't know if this actually ever made it into a video or not, because this was at a time where I wasn't really making a ton of content. I did a video doing this, and then I didn't upload again for about 6 months. So I don't think the process of building this actually made it into the video, but this has been on a lot of live streams, and we're actually going to be expanding this a little bit today. So we'll get into that a little bit more in a little bit. But the next thing we did very, very recently, way longer after we did all of this stuff, is we came over here and we started planning out some actual city houses. So you can see we got a big layout of a ton of different houses here. And this is not even going to be like a fraction of the amount of houses we're going to have in this entire area eventually. But this is still going to be a ton of houses and a ton of work. So that stuff we'll get into in the future. Unfortunately, I think a lot of this is going to have to be done like kind of in the background. Maybe we'll be able to do episodes where we build like a massive chunk of the city at once. But I think a lot of the episodes are going to be based more on like major points of interest, like this bridge here, or like the castle, or maybe a big factory or farm type thing. But we'll see. I think one thing I would love to do is build up, similar to how Flip does like a field in each one of his episodes. Let me actually sleep. In each one of Flip's hardcore episodes, he does like a crop field. I want to do something similar here where we build up a house every episode. At least one house. If it's not like a major chunk like we were talking about earlier, I would like to do one house in each episode. I think that could be a really cool way of progressing the city a little bit faster than we normally would be able to. And then the most recent thing we've done here is this chunk of row houses right here. For today's episode, what I want to work on is Possibly a couple of things. One thing that I for sure want to work on is this bridge here. There's a lot of stuff we got to do to this bridge to get it completed. The reason there's only like side barriers on this little chunk right here is this is all going to be filled with houses. This is going to be a big living bridge. If you don't know what a living bridge is, it's basically just a bridge that people live on. It's a bridge with houses all over it. And this one that we're doing here is going to be pretty inspired by the old London Bridge. But okay, let me go ahead and get started on this. I still need to move all my junk out here, and we'll be back once we got a bit of progress on this. And there we go. The bridge is done. No, I decided I wanted to make some changes here. So I decided I had to tear off this side of the bridge. So what we're going to be doing is we're actually going to be moving this side of the bridge further that way, so that we have more space in between these, well, in the very middle for boats to pass through. Obviously, the ships won't actually be moving in this world, but I think it will at least add a little bit, help the immersion just a little bit in this area. But okay, now that I have that done, I want to make some changes to this side over here, especially the, specifically the bottoms. And then we'll get this side all built back up, and then we'll start working on the houses up top. All right, there we go. The bridge is done. Well, at least this side of the bridge. The other side of the bridge is not finished yet, but I think this side is looking fantastic. I love how this has turned out so far. Let's actually just hop into free cam here and take a look a little bit easier. Now, something else I actually did is I changed the bottom of these. You can see if I go inside, you can kind of see, well, this is what it was before. It was stone brick, and it was just like basically the same shape all the way down. I decided to add these little, I don't know what exactly you call these, but these are like very common on these older, well, on the references that I was using for these living bridges, these like pointy structures. I think it's so that if a boat hits it, it'll kind of push it to the side over through the gap there, rather than just like crashing straight into the bridge. That's what I imagine. And I that could be totally wrong, but that's what I imagine the purpose is. But then these house designs up here, I think they turned out so cool. They're very, very small scale, much smaller than the houses that we're going to be building throughout the rest of the city. But I didn't want to completely redo the shape of this this bridge. I built this bridge very early on, before I even had this, I believe. So the scale that I was planning was much smaller, but I still think it turned out pretty cool. And I tried to go for like a pretty rundown look for these. I think these are all going to be like shops eventually. I think actually this is going to house all my villagers. I would like to make this into like a big villager trading hall, like the entire bridge. I think that could be pretty cool. But I wanted it to look like it was pretty run down, being like right off the ocean, like the ocean winds are coming through here and really making these houses look pretty rough. And yeah, I think overall this place has turned out pretty nice. I started getting the road in here a little bit, getting it textured. This is basically what it's going to be once we get everything all done. Again, like I said, we'll have houses all along this side as well, which I think is going to look really cool once we get this all done. I think it's going to be really cool to get this like really cramped feeling going through this entire bridge. But I think honestly, that's probably something I'm going to get done either in the next episode or maybe even just off camera, because it's going to be a lot of the same thing that we've already done here. It's going to be a lot of repetition. All right, but I think the last thing I want to do here before we end off the episode is I want to come over here to the other side of the bridge here. And I want to start working on connecting this road from here all the way up to that end over there. And I want to build up a big gate, a big city gate entering into the city. I think that would be a good way to end off this episode. So why don't we just go ahead and jump into that right now? All right, there we go. The gatehouse is finished. Let's actually go over to this side. Well, it's super foggy right now, but this is it. This is the finished product, and this is going to be our palette for the entire walls of the city. It's going to be quite a task to gather all this mangrove for the entire place, but I think it's going to be well worth it because I think this looks so good. And we actually need to add one more little detail here. Let me see if I can get it. Okay, here we go. You can see I've got a few custom items here in the crafting grid. So I need some yellow and red wool, and I also need some mangrove planks. So let me go and grab those stuff really quick. Okay, so using some of the new technical features they've added recently, I've added a few custom models like I showed earlier. Actually, let's grab 2 of these. And we're going to be using this, I think, going forward quite a bit to add some custom details to the world. Okay, how do we craft this one again? It is that. Okay. Let's grab 2 of those. And then we'll grab a couple of these too to just show off. But okay, so what I want to do, let's go ahead and climb up here onto the build. Let's use our scaffolding, get up to, I think, about right about here. And let's go ahead and throw down an item frame. And let's put a block below so we get shift. Put an item frame down and put that. Nope, not that one. The bigger one. Put that in the item frame, and then we'll shear the item frame because I have a data pack that lets me make those invisible. Do the same thing over here, shift and shear that, and then the same thing right here, but with this. And there we go. Now we got some cool custom banners hanging right outside the gate of the city. I think that looks so cool. And this texture was all made entirely by me, entirely custom. The design is kind of based on the flag of I think the Lannisters in Game of Thrones. I think I might actually change that. I might change it to actually be more like the actual lion that we built in the city square over here. Be more like that symbol. I'm not entirely positive though. But then this side over here, we have the smaller version, actually, the 1 wide version that we made. And I think these look so fantastic. I love how these turned out. Zombie, get out of here. And then also this little lion like statue type thing, this lion head statue thing. I think this looks so cool. I wanted to add a little detail here, and I tried to like build a lion head, and it wasn't, I didn't love how it was looking. It was just too big and bulky, and I couldn't get it centered perfectly. So I decided to try making my own custom model for it. And I think it turned out really cool. I'm super happy with how that looks. And up close, I think it's a pretty good lion texture. I'm fairly happy with it. Obviously used the colors of the mangrove. Tied that in. I tied in some of the colors from the netherrack a little bit just to make it blend into the wall a little bit better. But I think that is actually going to do it for today's episode. Super happy with the progress we were able to make in today's episode. We got the bridge almost complete. We just have to build up the houses on the other side and then we'll be done. And I feel like with that gatehouse, it's a really good start finally to the start of the city. I feel like we're at a really good point now where we could just start expanding super quickly. Even like in between episodes potentially. But yeah, that is going to do it. Hopefully you all enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like, and I will see you all in the next episode. Goodbye.